Alright, hey everybody, welcome back. This is Mr. Coaster Swag, and I'm really excited to bring you guys another video. This is going to be the second tier list video I've made, and this is for the other Virginia theme park. Last week I did King's Dominion, and this week I'm going to do Busch Gardens Williamsburg. I also visited this park twice. I visited this park back in March, and then once again in May to catch some of the rides that I didn't get to. And so I've ridden pretty much everything that this park has to offer as of 2023. So I'm really excited to, do this tier list for you guys and show you guys my opinions. So we're going to start off first. I believe this is Alpengeist. And Alpengeist is a great coaster. This is a B&M invert. And this has like a kind of a cool theme. I think it's themed to like the Monster of the Alps or something like that. And it's just very relentless. It's amazing. I think I came off in my first trip thinking that this was my favorite coaster at the park. That was before I rode Pantheon. I'll get to that in a second. And this is just really good. The elements hit. I mean, the vertical loop, the Immelman, and especially that Cobra roll. Oh my god, that Cobra roll hits you like an absolute truck, and I love every second of it. The reason why this isn't an elite or perfect coaster, unfortunately, is the pacing does die in the second half. That mid-course does hit pretty hard. I've ridden this ride probably around 10 times now, and it always pretty much hits pretty bad. The second half is still good. I think it's quite a good ride still. You have a 0G roll, which is pretty floaty, and then you got a corkscrew, which is pretty standard. But then it goes into a helix and it just kind of dies off for the rest of the ride. So that's the only reason why it's great. I give it probably an 8 to an 8.5. But yeah, it's really awesome. Now we have a newer coaster. This is actually Dark Coaster. I had the opportunity to ride this in May. I actually rode it an opening weekend, and I had to wait 2.5 hours for this for my first time. Second time I rope dropped it, so I got a little smart there, and I only rode it within 15 minutes or something like that. I would say this is a good ride. A lot of people like to hate on this ride because it doesn't have that much theming, and I agree it's not the most well-themed coaster. But the layout itself is actually very good, and the launches are super punchy. I mean, I expected tire launches to be super weak, but actually they were very fun. I really enjoyed this coaster. I think it's a great addition for newer thrill seekers and just families in general. I think it's a great ride. Yeah, definitely check it out. And now we have Griffin. Griffin is also a great coaster. I would put this a little bit behind Alpengeist just because it doesn't have as much force, but I will say Griffin is much more consistent than Alpengeist. Every Griffin ride I've had is really great. I think I rode this thing probably 5 or 6 times, and dude, every time it hits, it's really good. That drop always causes me to gray out. The drop into the first Immelman. Unfortunately, I will say the mid-course, again, same problem with Alpengeist. It does hit a little bit, so you lose a little bit of speed going into the second drop, but it's still a great second drop. You get so much floater airtime on this thing. It's actually incredible. And I love the splashdown, the airtime. It's just a fantastic coaster. A lot of people like to hate on dive coasters, but honestly, I think they are so fun, so re-rideable, so smooth. These ones have the over-the-shoulder restraints, so they don't have the problem of kind of pinning you down like the vest restraints do. And so it's really awesome. Great ride. Again, I give this like an 8 to an 8.5 probably. Now, Loch Ness Monster. I'm not going to lie, I was a little disappointed by this. I love aero loopers, and this one is just kind of like a family ride almost. I really hate to say that. I understand this is an icon, and I understand the history of this ride and everything, and I love that and I respect that, but as a rider, it just kind of doesn't hit that well. I mean, it has those 2 interlocking loops, and that's really cool, but aside from that, I mean, and the first drop, you get a little bit of airtime. The rest of the ride is kind of okay. I mean, there's this one weird helix section where it just meanders around in this dark tunnel, and it's just a really long helix, and it's so boring. Like, unfortunately, again, if they had some theming in that part, that would be really cool, but unfortunately right now I give it like a 6, maybe 6.5, and I rank it well under Dark Coaster, which I think is a much more complete ride. Now, Apollo's Chariot. I love Apollo's Chariot. This thing is so temperamental. I would put it as great, on the lower end of great, probably around an 8, just because it's so inconsistent. On its best days, I honestly want to bump this up to a 9. I think it has a great layout in the woods, great setting. It's just airtime hill after airtime hill, and you get a lot of floater on those if it's running well. But if it's not running well, it's kind of weak. I remember the first time I rode this, I thought it was so weak. I'm like, that's it? I mean, that's what you call floater airtime? It barely lifted me off of my seat. But then I rode it again later on in the day. I'm like, oh man, that hits different. So it just really depends on when you ride it. This thing is very temperamental. I've got some really good rides, got some really bad rides, and generally in the middle, it's around an 8. So it's good hyper, very good sense of speed. You get, again, good floater airtime when it runs well, but it's not at the top level of great or even elite. Invader. This is a very fun coaster, very fun wooden coaster. I would put it right in between Loch Ness and Dark Coaster. I think it's a really good ride, very out of control feeling that you get, just because it's, wooden and you get a lot of laterals and airtime. It's a very fun ride, very good ride, but I wouldn't say it's great. It's just lacking a little something for me. I think, unlike a lot of the other wooden coasters that I've ridden, this thing feels a little bit short, and it just doesn't have as much as I wanted it to. What it does manage to accomplish in its layout is very, very fantastic, and I love that. But it's just not quite there for me yet, so I'll just leave it as good for now. Now, Pantheon. Oh my god, I love Pantheon. Pantheon is a perfect ride for me. I don't care what anybody says. This is my video. I think Pantheon is amazing. It's the second best coaster that I've ridden to this day. And man, let me tell you, this thing, the elements just hit. They just hit. And there's so many really, really good elements on this, but I think the best part is the swing launch. The backwards ejector airtime you get is unlike anything else I've ever felt. It's absolutely insane. You don't expect it either, because you get it like 2 or 3 times going back, and then you get it again going forward. Oh my god, it's insane. I got front row and back row rides on this, and it's good in both, but I prefer the back just because I think the airtime is a little bit crazier on the back, and that vertical spike, dude, oh man, no other vertical spikes for me hit the same anymore, because this is what I define as a real vertical spike. Aside from that, you have a lot of really good elements. You got an outer bank, you got a 0G winder that offers a lot of float, you got a 0G stall. This is just a perfect layout. Unfortunately, the one thing that's holding it back is the theming, but I will not consider theming for this because I will say the vast majority of coasters are not themed, so I don't expect it. It would definitely boost it, but it's just a great ride. All the elements are just amazing. I rode this like 5 times in a row. It's just so good. I love it. Then we got Super Grovers. This is Air Grover, Super Grovers. I don't know, whatever Grover coaster they have there. Oh, I think it's Alpine Express. Grover's Alpine Express is what they have. This is a fun ride. I think it's okay. It's a kiddie ride. Has a little more force than you would expect from a normal kiddie ride, but just very fun and very enjoyable. Yeah, at the end of the day, it just doesn't. It's a kiddie ride, so I can't rank it much higher than 4 or 5. And then we got Tempesto. Now, this is probably not that controversial, but I would put it as good, but not that great. At the very low end of good, I would put this actually be way behind Nessie, to be honest. It's a Skyrocket too. It's a clone. But that's not why I hate it. I hate it because I think these comfort collars and the Premier trains are garbage. Straight up. I love Premier. I think they make some great rides, but their trains suck, dude. And that holds back the ride a lot for me. I think there's a lot of good forces on this. You get some really cool weightlessness on the backwards launch. It's a swing launch, kind of like Pantheon, but this one just does it so much worse. You get some really cool hang time on that top element. I think it's a Heartline roll. But man, these restraints, dude, I hate comfort collars. It just kills anything for me, and that's why it's a 6. Otherwise, I would probably honestly put it as a 7, maybe even probably not an 8, but around a 7. But yeah, those comfort collars, dude, they suck. And finally, we are ending off of a good note. Verbolten. Verbolten is Out of the big kind of 4 great coasters, I'd probably put this as my least favorite, but it's still a great ride. It's one of the best family coasters I've ever ridden. You know, it just does everything so well. It has 2 launches. It has an outdoor section, an indoor section. Has some great theming. You know, it's not like crazy level like Disney Universal theming, but it's great theming for what Busch Gardens has to offer. I love this ride. You know, that drop over the water is pretty fun. But my favorite part is actually the indoor section where you get that helix, and then you have a surprise element. I'm not going to spoil the surprise element. If you want to spoil it for yourself, you can go watch a POV or something. But man, that surprise element, that's great. It's a great element, and it's very, very fun. It's more forceful than you would expect from a traditional family coaster, which maybe is off-putting for families, but I don't mind it as a thrill seeker. And it's a complete package. You know, it's a really great ride. Unfortunately, I can't rank it higher than any of the big B&Ms just because those offer, you know, much more forces. I think this one has so much whip, this one has so much, and these two have so much floater, and this one, you know, just kind of pales in comparison. But for what it is, man, I love it. So yeah, this is Busch Gardens you know, entire coaster lineup in a tier list. I think Busch Gardens Williamsburg has honestly one of the strongest coaster lineups I've ever seen. Pantheon is just a really, really great standout coaster, and they have 4 great supporting coasters, as well as 4, you know, good coasters to back it up, and then, you know, 1 kiddie coaster. So yeah, I think it's great. There's really no bad coasters at this park, kind of like King's Dominion. I don't think there's anything really bad here, anything really egregious. Yeah, I really like this park. I love it. I think the theming is good. It's just very, you know, clean. I love the environment. Everything about it is awesome. And man, the coasters are good. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like and subscribe if you did. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.